Welcome to another Nucida training session to get more familiar with Xray. Now this time we'll be trying to create a quick test execution issue type, which is different than other preconditions and tests, and then we will be calling our test under that in order to run it and see the interface of executing a test in the Xray. Now, let's quickly go ahead and click on the Create button here, which will allow us to create a new issue type, and this time we'll be selecting our next issue type, which is Test Execution. So, let's click on this button here and we'll be writing a quick summary for this. For example, you can name it accordingly like what tests you're doing. Thus, you can write it as unit testing, you can write it as integration testing, and so on. Or if you're writing a common test execution for all the sprint tests, then you can say test execution for sprint 1, test executions for sprint 2. Or if this execution is going to contain all the test which you're going to run as regression, then you can name it as regression test suite as well. So right now, I'm just going to make it as ad hoc test execution, which is just going to run few tests randomly, and we are not making any difference here, right? So I'm just going to create this test execution, which is called an ad hoc test execution, but I just gave you all the information on how to appropriately name your test execution. Now it's time for us to click on Create button here and create a test execution altogether. So as soon as the test execution gets created, let's go to this issue by clicking on the Quick Launch. Or you can even refresh the page and the issue will be listed there and you can go from there as well. So right now, the issue is created probably, and I'm making it more professional. You can write a detailed description about it, for example running a test on login of the Daily Hand app. Right now, that's just naming the description, that's it. But, if you want, you can do some more things here and include the inference and details about what the execution is going to consist of, and I'll be pulling it up here stating that it's assigned to myself, so say for example testing in nutshell. And I'll be pushing this into design phase right now. So, the status would be to do. That means, I associate the tests related to this execution and trying to import all that information, what we really need to run a test. So, all you must do is generally the test page should get loaded. I'm not sure, it's taking a slightly long time, so it is just quickly hit enter once again and see if that gets loaded faster. Sometimes, it depends on your system configuration, or it depends on the internet availability, or sometimes it's even the server, which takes slightly longer. Just don't wait and you can click on quickly the refresh button to just make it happen once again. If in case that takes too longer, you can just give some time, and this is how the page will be loaded, and this will have only one tab. Unlike the previous options, right? So, if you went to the test you saw that there was buttons like test steps, you had test executions, you had test plan, etc. Now it's time we are in the test execution, and here it only has one option, that, what are the tests, which you're going to run under this, right? So, let me add a test because, again, you have options here that, do you want to use existing tests, do you want to create a new test, or you want to call test from a particular test set. A test set is something which we are yet to cover, so don't worry about that. We'll be talking in some other video tutorials. So, let's click on existing test as we have already got the test with us, and let's associate that to this test execution. You can make a select directly by dropping down if you remember the ID, and there will be a short summary here. If you want, you can search something more by using your project and other filter criterias. Or you can also make use of JQL to make a quick search. Keeping it simple right now. You can just select what you want to go for. So, I'm picking up the test case MTP16, which tests, as a tester validate, that a registered user can log in on Daily Hunt News app, and click on Add Selected. If you want, you can add more tests. Also, at this point there's no restriction, that you can only add one test. It's just that it will create it as a test execution, and you can have multiple instances of the same test, or you can have multiple different tests under a single execution, and it will all show you the overall status bar here, that how many tests are there in this execution and how many are executed, how many are yet to do. Let me add few more tests just for our reference, that how the progress bar will change, and the count will show, and if we talk about executing some of them, how the difference will be. So, I'm adding MTP15. Yes, let's add MTP15. Sorry, I should have added one more. Okay, no matter, we'll just repeat that once again. I'm adding one more. That is MTP17 and just adding that here. So now, if you see the counters increased, and it's showing us that there are 3 tests, which are in to do, and total tests are 3, and these are the details of the test. Also, you see the test type, you see the data set, if you have passed any. Data set is something different, which will be coming back to you with details, and this is basically to pass parameters. And run a single test with multiple set of data. If in case the tests are executed already, and you have got defects raised in that, then the defect will be linked here, and the count will be shown. The status will be displayed here. And this is your execution button. This is all what you need to do to run. I'll just mark this test as in progress. That means, now we are running it and we will be just going off with running our very first test in the Xray. So, all you must do is click on one of these tests. Of course, I'll go in the sequential order. If you want to change the sequence, you can just drag and drop and say no, this is what will be running first and then second and so on. So yes, all the protocols of test management are very well followed here. Let me just keep it on the top, because I'm just going to run one test right now and click on this run button. As soon as you click on the run button, it's going to take you to a completely different window, which is the Xray Executor. And this Xray Executor window will give you the significance of interaction and the interface, which you need for running a test. Now that's the window what you're looking at, right now. If you see here, I've got the summary on the top. I see the hierarchy that the test, which you are running, belongs to Test Execution MTP20 and belongs to this project. At the same time, you see Execute with Xray 3 app. So, you would need that app to be installed to run an expert test. If you have a data set, you can see that here. If you want to import the execution results from external sources, you can do that. Even you can run the timer to capture how long did you take. If not, the system will capture started on and finished on and show you what is the duration taken. But if you want to capture a time log, you can even do that as well. So here is the assignee executed by will come once you complete the execution or run the execution nearly version revision and the test environments if you have created one, right? So right now my execution's title is to do. Follow that, if you see, here is the list of all the findings which we have during the execution. So right now, it is empty, but if you have anything to do you can. Always make use of it, right? I said, if there are any defects, I can add it right from here. If I click on this button, I can create a defect and it'll take me to the issue type as bug. So, I can just select the bug here, report a defect, and the count will be added right here. Okay, evidence to support any of your executions, any of your defects. You can do that if you want to include the comment. And this is all for the overall execution. So, say for example, right at the beginning of execution, you find that something is not working, the application is failing. You can report this effect right here. No need to go to the steps because steps will be the execution failures, right? Before executing, if you have any failures, you can use this tab for that. Next is the test details, and the test details are telling me a tested developer is associated to. So, it's testing this requirement and we have 2 preconditions, which is to install the Daily Hand News app and make sure that you're registered. So, assume that, if you have fulfilled these, criteria. Okay. If you have fulfilled these criteria, then proceed to step 3. If you have not, then fulfill these criterias and then proceed to step 3. So, all the steps are mentioned here, like which requirement, which precondition, and which steps are supposed to be executed now. So now, if you see here, my test cases have been imported, and assuming that I have got the application with me, I'll be just quickly running this test and keeping it as a happy path. Okay, keeping it as a happy path. I'll be running this test now. Say for example, enter the username as specified. Username is here. Expected result is on. I click on the actual result and mention that, yes, the username is entered and displayed. Now in that case, you just save it first, and then here on the right you have 3 colors representing. If this step is passed, then the step is in progress. By default, your test will come in progress as soon as you update the first status. So let me mark this as green and you would see some transformation on this window right now. For example, the overall status will change. The gray bar, which is to do turning into green. So, let's click on this, right. Do you see that? There's a background color green. There's a 2 bar on the left which says green, and here it says you started executing, and a timer has kicked off. Right, a timer has kicked off and the time is going to be captured. How long do I take? Similarly, I'm going to quickly run through and say the password also is entered as masked, OK, and say save. Now this time also the test has passed, because expected and equals or actuals are same. So, I'll just take this as passed as well, right? The overall status remains executing and the timer is being captured. And here, if I just say the last one, that is to click on the login button, and I would say here that the actual homepage is displayed. You can make it better, following the protocols. I would say user's homepage is displayed, right? That makes more sense. So, I'll click on save and I'll click on pass again. But if in case you mark it as fail, you have stepwise defects button. The difference between this top defect on the top right and the defect here is, when you click on a defect button and click on create defect, it does not capture anything, right? The summary is blank, description is blank, etc. Everything is blank. But if you click on a step, that I have got a defect and you say create defect, you will see that description is capturing your step saying that this is what the user tried doing by entering username. So, this is the benefit of raising a defect right here from the Xray, not going after the execution and raising it. See, there is no harm in creating a defect after the execution, but if you want to raise it right here, a lot of your efforts will be reduced. So, let me just mark this as passed and tada. My execution time closed, and I have got 2 minutes 13 seconds taken to run this. The start time was 3:37, close time is 3:39, and executed that is tapped by me. So now I've got this all detailed. I pretty much did not have the version. If I modify anything, I will see the version here. I have not created the environment here, so it's empty, right? So, it pretty much gives you all that information, what you really need to run a simple test. We'll show you different scenarios, different usage of options, raising a defect, etc. in our upcoming videos.